Hey, welcome back to the Spector Creative channel. I'm your host, Scott Toy Guru Neitluch, and a big reason I started this channel was to bring my experience working in the toy industry to my fellow toy collectors. And during the time that I've worked in the toy industry for the last 25 years, I've dealt with a lot of passionate fans. Fans who show up at conventions, fans that I run into in bookstores because they recognize my voice, which can be a little scary, but I guess flattering, and fans online who can hide behind the keyboard and say whatever they want about myself, my family, and send us death threats. But that's not important right now. The point is, fans of toys are very passionate, and of all the brands I've worked on, and I've worked on a lot, I have never worked with a fan base that was as passionate, as excited as He-Man fans. Honestly, you guys beat DC, Marvel, Star Wars, you really do. The passion blows me away. But because of that, Masters of the Universe, aka the He-Man brand, tends to have a rough time swimming in waters because no matter the iteration, it tends to get hit with the blunt end of Teela's staff. And by that, whether the toys are offered online or at retail or are dropped by helicopter directly into your backyard, there tend to always be some issue. And some of them are 100% legitimate, like that whole red screen of death thing on Matty Collector. And others are about things that have perhaps been misunderstood, like distribution. The fact that toys can only be shipped to retailers who order them. You can't just force a retailer to take stock. Toy companies don't control that. The big reason why we sold on Matty Collector online, the He-Man line, because we could control that. It was a way that you could actually ship directly to customers, and it was a big solve for the Masters of the Universe brand by selling it online. Well, Masters of the Universe is back at retail, and of course there are issues, some legit, some more legit. I mean, production issues, quality control is always going to be a legitimate issue. With retail, that's good because you can see the product before you buy it, as opposed to online. One of the big issues, though, and that comes up a ton in my comments and is the raison d'etre for this video, is the fact that He-Man and Skeletor tend to be the only figures available at mass retail. Perhaps also Battle Cat and even that Prince Adam with jet ski. And a lot of people are saying, well, this is a sign the line is failing, or this is a sign that distribution is terrible because only He-Man and only Skeletor are available. And I want to sort of correct or at least add to that perception because that's actually not necessarily the case. This is actually the best possible scenario. Well, I guess the best possible scenario would be 10 feet of product with like hundreds of characters, but that would take a huge order. All right. Imagine for a moment you are a brand manager for the Masters of the Universe retail line, and you can only ship to retail what retail orders, meaning you can't force them to take extra product. Well, if you were going to ship 2 characters, who would they be? You would ship the most popular characters, right? He-Man and Skeletor. And they tend to be the ones that most of the public recognizes, and they work great in a 2-pack or even sold separately because they're an instant battle in a box. All right, so the first factor is MOQ, minimum order quantity. And I know I talk about this, so you want to, smash your head against the wall, but bear with me here, how MOQ plays into this. So let's assume, for argument's sake, that figures in the Origins line have an MOQ of 20,000 units. All right, now let's say Target Stores orders 40,000 units. Well, what are you going to ship them? You can't ship them 5,000 units of Stratos, 5,000 Teela, 5,000 Zodak, because you'd then be producing under MOQ, and your costs would skyrocket. The lower the run, the higher the cost you're charged, and you have to pass that on to the consumer, and you can't hold that SRP that Target has been promised a year and a half ago. You have to put out your best and your brightest. So you have to take that MOQ and maximize it with the greatest number of characters. And it may just be that you only have an order that justifies going into production on 2 SKUs. So if it's 20,000 per SKU and you have a 40,000 order, that means you can produce 20,000 of one and 20,000 of another in order to keep that price. Part of it is that as adult collectors, and myself included in this, we tend to see ourselves as the center of the universe, and that all toy lines are produced for our needs and for the needs of the adult collector, and that means lots of character selection. The problem with this philosophy is it's not reflected in sales. The majority of sales are not to the adult collector, represented by that little red shape there. It's all about changing our perspective. And once you look at a line at retail and realize that it's not for an adult collector, it's for a child, you can start to understand and have a different mindset about why certain characters are selected at retail and others are not. One reason, as I noted, is MOQ. Because if you can only produce or only have an order for, say, 40,000 units, again, and 20,000 per SKU, well, then you have to ship 2 different characters. And who are you going to ship? You're going to ship the 2 most popular characters, the ones most likely for kids to buy. Battle Cat has a different MOQ because he's a different spot on the peg. There's one order for basic figures, one for Battle Cats, and one for Sky Sleds. They're different SKUs. They each have their own order. And not seeing, but looking at a line as it's at retail and assuming or jumping to the conclusion that it's made for collectors is what leads to this frustration. So the other thing is, look who you're fishing for. And by that I mean retail. Who are you looking to buy your product? If you're looking for a collector to buy it, you're going to put it on that back wall behind electronics. If you're going to put it in the retail aisle, it has to be bait for a kid to buy. And that's why the popular characters are chosen. Well, all of this could actually just be out the window, because if you've been to Target or Walmart recently, you may have noticed that some of the MOTU Origin figures are now getting deep discounts. The Sky Sled, I've seen posts of it selling for about $8 or $9, down from $29.99. This is clearance pricing. This is like 70% off. This is, we need to remove this stock from inventory as quickly as possible. And the reason for this is because the global reset is coming. I'm sorry, not the global reset, the retail store reset is coming. What that is every August and every February, all of retail stores, especially the toy aisle, reset themselves for holiday sales. So brands that are not doing well get delisted in July and get put on discount, and lines that are doing well get renewed. So we're about to see a very different toy aisle. And that's how we'll know the lifespan of a line is if it gets renewed for another season. So basically, take a look at your aisle, see how well it's selling, and if product is on discount over the next few weeks, it probably means it's going to be eliminated for the August reset in place of something that will ideally sell better for the retailer. Because at the end of the day, that's what they need to do. And that is why you see He-Man and Skeletor. They're the best bet for getting kids long term. Oh, I hope this explained a lot. I know I've made a lot of videos about Origins, but I get a lot of comments, and I'm really just trying to get accurate information out there. If you like accurate information, be sure to subscribe to this channel. It's a great way to help support it. Thanks for watching.